Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So in today's one we are reviewing a new mid-size SUV from Mazda's lineup, which is this CX-70, and it has snowed a lot in the last 2 days and it is extremely windy. And if I can just show you around, the amount of snow that we have here is just insane. But let's begin reviewing this car. So this new CX-70 is offered in 4 different variants: GSL, GT, GTP and the Signature Edition. And the particular variant that I'm reviewing is the CX-70 GT variant. And the difference between the CX-70 and the CX-90 is only the fact that there is a third row in the CX-90, whereas in the CX-70 there is no third row, but instead there is just a lot of luggage space provided. So let me begin from the front. I'm extremely sorry because it's very windy today, but I hope the audio is clear and it's audible whatever I'm explaining. So starting from the front, there is this blacked out grille out here, glossy one, and it's also the car quite dirty because of a lot of snow, and it's constantly like snowed for a good 2 days, and yeah, the road conditions have been quite poor also to drive. So there's the Mazda badging in the middle, and on the sides there are these DRLs and also the main headlight cluster. This bit is the DRL and also on the inside, and the turn signals are out here. So these are the LED DRLs and also the LED turn signals, and the main headlight cluster is a dynamic headlight cluster, so it moves around with the steering input, and it's a fully LED headlight cluster also. And some things that I've noticed during the snow is that there's a bit of a snow buildup that happens here, and it sort of clogs up the headlight unit in the front, and then you have to remove the snow from here to be able to use these headlights. There are also functional vents given on the side here, extra bit of cutout provided at the bottom also for extra bit of cooling, and underneath sits a 3.3 liter 6-cylinder inline engine. There's also a camera on the top for the various safety systems, and out here on the GT variant there are these 21-inch dark grey alloy wheels in the winter tires, very much needed right now. The inline 6 badge, and when you come to the side mirrors, these are power foldable side mirrors. They are the glossy black ones, and they are also power adjustable. They also have the blind spot warning on the inside, and also one of the cameras from the 360-degree camera system, and also a turn signal on the bottom side. The doors, front doors, are the smart keyless entry doors, so you can leave the keys in your pocket and walk away from the car. On the inside, and there are also rubber mats provided with the CX-70 badging on them. There are also these body colored skirtings on the fender, so as to protect your actual fender with this paint job. Also at the bottom there are the body colored skirtings, and they cover the frame entirely, and you can see the snow build up. Right now it's frozen because it's like -7 degrees. More skirtings in the back too, and there are also black roof rails and also a panoramic sunroof, some glossy black pillars here. Once we move in the back, I don't know if it's gonna be, yeah, it is bright enough. So in the back there are same LED tail lights provided, also full set of LED tail lights, and the turn signals are the fading ones, which is a Mazda exclusive. Wow, look at that. And there's also Mazda badging here, the CX-70 all-wheel drive badging, the e-SKYACTIV-G, because this is a mild hybrid also. So there is a 48-volt motor provided that works with the engine together, and there is also a 0.33 kilowatt hour battery pack provided, and I'm going to come to the details once we go on the drive. In terms of the visibility, it's actually pretty decent because the rear glass is quite tall enough, so it gives you ample of visibility. On the back there are these plastic bits provided with the reflector strips, but it's just for the sportiness of the bumper, that's about it. And the exhaust strips are mounted behind the bumper, so they are like covered. Now when we come to the boot space, in order to open, just press the button. There are like scuff plates provided here, and this is what I was mentioning about. So there is so much of space inside because there is no third row of seat here. In the CX-90 there is one, and the way you can tell is because there are these cup holders that are still there even though there is no third row of seat provided. Now when the rear seats are folded up, you can put 39.6 cubic feet of luggage in the back, which is pretty big for a mid-size SUV. I would say it's quite decent. Also there are like the plug point provided, also the hooks in the back. There are tying hooks provided here on the sides too. So boot lights, more hooks here, and then these buttons to fold down the seats, so that's the convenience feature. Also this carpet lining, and underneath this you will find the temporary spare wheel and the toolkit. The spare wheel is underneath of this. The rear seats are foldable in a ratio of 60:40, and in order to fold them down, now I have a child seat on the right side, but the left side seat I can definitely fold it from here. So it's the left seat, and when I press it, it folds down the seat, but it cannot be folded up. That's just the thing, it is only one way. So you fold down the seats. When you fold all the seats down, the rear seats, then you can put 75.3 cubic feet of luggage, which is again pretty good for this size of SUV. But overall Mazdas are always quite functional, but it's the interior quality that is really good. Wherever you touch whatever surfaces, they are going to be quite nice. Now there's a lot of snow building up on the inside, so I'm just gonna close using this button, and let's jump on the inside. Now the interior of the CX-70 is lined in the most usual Mazda way. It's quite premium, it's spaced out, and every surface or material that you interact with is just premium quality. So let me begin with the dashboard. It's like 2 layers, so there is like soft touch material even out here on both the layers. Even on the top is soft touch materials. On the door cards, again it's soft touch materials. There is also this plastic panel on the top, really nice quality to that too, something like an aluminum finish. And then when you're going to be resting hands, that's again soft touch material with this bronze color stitching, plastic switches here, more switches out here for i-stop, which is the engine start stop, traction control, parking, and the sound off if you don't want any warnings to be heard but only displayed. And these air conditioning vents, quite fancy here, and even on the other side too. Out here there is this covered cup holders, and then you see the same sort of finish on these plastic panels also, and then this gear shifter. And it's a bit weird because first you have to push it on the side and then go into the reverse neutral drive, then go back into the reverse, and most of the times I've forgotten to put it into the park, because then you have to flick it by pressing this button on the side and then pushing it into the parking mode. Now overall the material quality is quite decent on this CX-70. Even the seats are the leather seats with the bronze color stitching. They are perforated because they are the heated seats, driver and the passenger side seat, both of them. Now when we come to the driver's display, so there are 2 conventional dials on either side, and there is a 7-inch digital driver's display in the middle. And in order to change the information on this driver's display, it's quite straightforward. You press this info button and change like 3 different levels of information. That's about it what you can see from here, actually 4, and then there is also a warning which is for the service. Switch it off, and if you don't want any information on the driver's display, that's also possible. And the information that you see on either side of the dial, that can be changed using this joystick to go into the driver's display and go into the settings, in vehicle display, then active driving display. There is the, sorry, not the active driving display, it's the instrument cluster display. Then there is the fuel efficiency, type 1, type 2. So that's where the changes happen. So if you notice, if I go to type 1, it becomes the bar type, and type 2 is more digital, or switch it off completely. So these are the options possible on the edges. That's about it. That's the driver's display on this CX-70. When we come to the steering wheel, this is a manually adjustable tilt and telescopic steering wheel. There are also paddle shifters, plastic ones provided in the back too, and this steering wheel is a leather covered steering wheel. There are buttons provided on either side, also Mazda badging in the middle. It's a round one, fairly straightforward to use, but still quite slim enough, very sporty to handle also. Now there are buttons provided on the right side for the adaptive cruise control, and on the left side to change the information on the driver's display, and also the media controls and the voice controls. That's about it. It's also the heated steering wheel, and the button is provided here underneath the air conditioning controls. Now when we come to this air conditioning controls, so you get tri-zone air conditioning system, couple of zones here and one for the rear passengers, and again it's button operated air conditioning system, straightforward, but no dial provided for the temperature control. So that's like both of the buttons have to be pressed to be able to change the temperature and everything. So straightforward on and off. You switch it on, and then there is the fan speed, then there is the flow of air that you can change, fresh air, and then rear air conditioning on and off from here, or you can control the rear air conditioning also from here, and you can change the temperature, the fan speed, and all of that. Then you can come back to the front ones, and then buttons provided on either side to change the temperature. So the hot ones don't go up, but both the buttons have to be pressed down, although the arrows go up and down, but yeah, don't get confused, both the buttons operate in the same way, so you have to press it down. And even on the other side for the passengers, and then the sync button, because it's a dual zone in the front, then so it's synced with the passenger and the driver, and also for the rear. So the tri-zone, all of them is just synced together, but again straightforward button operated air conditioning system provided on this CX-70. Now when we come to the infotainment screen, this is a 10.25-inch infotainment system provided on this CX-70, and the interface is exactly like any other Mazda car. So the CX-3, CX-30, Mazda 3, CX-90, CX-9, CX-5, whichever cars you pick up is exactly the same, which is why I said this infotainment system needs to have a slight bit of change now, because it started to date a little bit compared to the other competitors in the segment. Now it's quite straightforward, and there are buttons provided here to change the infotainment screen to control that. This is like a joystick, you can move it side to side, up and down, and also you can scroll it by using these options. And the thing with this infotainment screen is that with the other Mazdas, when you are connected to the Android Auto, then the screen becomes touch screen, but in this case it does not. So you still are stuck with this joystick all the time when you're operating this car, which can become a bit fiddly. I'm going to come later on to the Android Auto and show you. So the first option is the information, where it shows fuel efficiency monitor, vehicle status, go back. Then there is the entertainment, where you will find all the connectivity. So in terms of the connectivity, you can connect to this infotainment system using Bluetooth, USB, and there is wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. As you can see, there is the wireless Android Auto connected. I'm gonna connect that soon. Let's go back. Then there is communication when the phone is connected, call history, contacts, Mazda assistance, and everything. Then the inbuilt navigation system, again you have to use it using the dial and the joysticks and the buttons provided for that. It's neat touch, because if you don't want to connect your Android Auto Apple CarPlay, then you can still use this inbuilt navigation system. Also not too bad, but yeah, it can be simplified a little bit. Then there is settings, where there is in vehicle displays, where there is active driving display. Now I don't know, in this white backdrop you can see the heads up display, but there is a crystal clear heads up display provided, and in there you can change the height, brightness, tilt, active navigation, guidance. All of this is also visible on the heads up display. Now if it is now possible to see, when the sun has gone away, it's all white snow and the sun is falling on that snow, and then it's becoming too bright. So yeah, then the options that you can see is navigation, street name, lane guidance, traffic sign recognition, ETA, and also when you're in the cruise control you can see that information too. Then center display, you can change that, instrument cluster display, sound settings. So you get Bose music system on this CX-70 GT variant. Then safety systems, then the vehicle settings, where you would find all the paddle shift logic, doors, exterior, interior, rain sensing, and all of that information. Connectivity settings, it also comes with Alexa. System settings, where clock, voice, language, temperature, speed, the units and all that you can set, and that's the main set of menus. And then you can flick on the left side this joystick, and then you can see the warnings also. So the service is approaching, it's to warn me about that. We go back. Now if you want to go into the Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, it's quite easy. You just flick this joystick up or down like that, and then you can switch to different modes. So now I'm going into the Android Auto. Now let's say we are into the maps, and let me go up. So you see, like, I have to use the joystick for pretty much every single operation of this thing, so that becomes a bit tricky for operating this entire infotainment screen. Let me go into the main menu options. Now when I go in, look at that, like it's just very inconvenient sometimes, because if it was touch it would have been easier, but not on this screen. It works like that. So yeah, you are stuck with this joystick in order to operate anything on this Android Auto. And there is also a volume dial provided. There are more buttons for the electronic parking brake, and also a favorite button. You press that and then you can set maybe your homework or paddle shift or all of that settings using, you can assign that button using these options. And then there are also more buttons provided on here. So there is this My Drive, which is for the driving mode. So there are 3 different driving modes on this CX-70. The first one is the sport mode, and also the dials become red. And then there is the normal mode, and then there is the off-road mode. Again, the dials become sandy color to show you that you're in the off-road mode, and then we are back into the normal mode. Now when we come to the charging, so there is a wireless charger provided underneath the air conditioning controls, one 12-volt power socket. There is also, when you open this center armrest, there are 2 more USB Type-C ports. There are also 2 more USB Type-C ports provided for the rear passengers. I'm going to come to that once we go in the back. And there is also a panoramic sunroof. Not going to open the window because it's extremely windy. I don't want the snow to come inside, but yes, it's quite big and airy, especially for a car this big. And there are also these extendable sun visors. There's also an SOS button for emergency purposes. Now in terms of the storage, so in the door cards you can easily put about 1 to 1.5 liter worth of water. Some more storage on the sides, this wireless charger to put your phones and wallets. And then you open this door, there are 2 flexible cup holders, and then this armrest inside, which again, it's not that deep, it's quite shallow, so you can only put your wallets and phones. There's also this glove box, it's decently big too. Even on the passenger side, same amount of storage. In the rear, you can put easily 1.5 liter worth of bottle and some more storage on the sides. There are also two normal cup holders in this center armrest, so that's like the storage situation on the inside of this CX-70. Now when we come to these seats, so these are the leather seats, they are the perforated seats and come with the bronze color stitching on the side. They are not very sporty seats but quite broad seats, and I'm glad that they are provided like that because they provide ample of support, especially underneath the thigh. Like there is good amount of support in terms of that, and there is also quite a lot of adjustability, at least for the driver side, and the passenger side is also electronically adjustable. These headrests are quite soft and squidgy also, and in terms of the side support in the backrest, there is there, but it's not like a sporty setup, which is a good thing. So still can accommodate like yeah, taller passengers also into these seats very easily, and even the bottom rest is quite soft too. And as I said, the passenger and the driver side seat is the heated seats, and the buttons are provided underneath the air conditioning controls, all these switches. So on either side you can switch it on and off, and then there are different levels also to adjust the heating options. Now in terms of the adjustability of these seats, so the driver side seat is 8-way electronically adjustable and 2-way lumbar adjustment, whereas the passenger side seat is just 4-way electronically adjustable. Now let's jump into the rear seats and show you what it's like in terms of the rear seating arrangement. Still quite windy, but yeah, hopefully unlock, and then we go inside, and here we are. Let me open the panoramic roof, just a cover to that, so we have a bit of light flowing in the back. Now the rear seats are again the same leather seats, and there are like 3 headrests, and it's got the same black color leather in the back too. They are perforated seats because they are the heated seats also, and the controls are provided in the back on either side, these buttons. So either side of the seats are the heated seats, and in terms of the seating situation in the back, it's quite comfortable, and you can even slide your legs under the seats. A slight amount of adjustment is possible during the longer journeys, but you sit slightly on the lower side, and you can see from the angle that my legs are making, there is not much support, that's kind of missing at the edge of it. But otherwise, yes, these seats are not the flat bench type of seats, but more like at an angle. And also not just that, you can even adjust the angle of the rear seats also. So as you can see, like there is a difference in that. Just wanted to show you that. And I've put like child seat on the rear ones to show you how it fits in the rear. So yeah, that's the situation. And then there is more space even for the middle passenger. Now there is a bit of a tunnel that goes in the back. So once I sit in the middle, the seats are still quite comfortable, I would say, and the backrest is slightly on the harder side, and that is to do with the fact that there is 2 flexible cup holders provided here, and it's quite broad handrest also, but it's just that it's on the lower side, so the height is a bit on the lower side. That's just the only thing. If it was a little raised up, would have been slightly easier. There are also sun blinders provided for extra bit of privacy, or when there is a baby in the car seat, then you can put this thing up to block the sunlight. That's again pretty convenient also for the babies. Now in terms of the quality in the back, it's soft touch materials again, and then this same plastic trim, and then where you're going to be resting hands, that's leather with the bronze color stitching. These switches again, they are quite good. Same goes speakers out here too. Then there are these pocket storage in the driver and the passenger side seat, and there are 2 air conditioning vents provided for the rear passengers also. So during these cold climate, wintry days, it's gonna be quite easy to keep yourself warm in the back. And also there is the temperature adjustability also, so you can change the temperature from here, the fan speed, and also the direction of air, or switch it on and off from here. There are 2 more type C USB ports as I mentioned, but overall the space in the back is quite good. And not just that, the rear seats are also slidable for some reason, and I'm guessing because the CX-90 comes with the 3rd row seat, and it's for that adjustment. And as I said, they haven't removed any cup holders in the back, and it just shows that yeah, there was a seat that was supposed to be there. So it would have made sense, like if the CX-70 itself or the CX-90 was offered without the 3rd row of seat as an option, then it would have been easier. But nonetheless, yes, let's jump into the driving seat and go for a drive. Now the roads are filled with a lot of snow still, and this intelligent all-wheel drive system on this CX-70 is coming in quite handy because it's distributing the torque quite well. Clubbed with these winter tires, it's nearly giving me like good amount of grip and confidence inducing ride also. So on this CX-70 there is a 3.3 liter inline 6-cylinder naturally aspirated engine that is mated to a new 8-speed automatic transmission, and Mazda says that this 3.3 liter engine is one of the most powerful engines that they currently have from their lineup, because this 3.3 liter 6-cylinder engine produces 280 horsepower and 332 pound-feet of torque. And in the GTP and the signature variant, there is also a higher output, which is about 340 horsepower and upwards, and 369 pound-feet of torque. So definitely this is a quite powerful engine, and it's from the same 3.3 liter unit. Now, as I said, this is also a mild hybrid electric vehicle. So there is a 48 volt mild hybrid system, which is called as a M hybrid power, connected to the same output. So that has an 11 kilowatt hour motor, and there is also a 0.33 kilowatt hour battery pack, and this charge rate is 7.5 amperes, and that motor gives out the power of 16.9 horsepower and 113 pound-feet of torque, and that's between 900 to 1000 rpm. So the basic idea is that at lower rpms, usually the gas powered engines are not very efficient in delivering the power and torque, and that's quite evident. And that's where this electric motor comes in, because it provides you with that power immediately in that lower rpm band, and that fills in and gives you a smoother power band, and definitely works very well, this entire mild hybrid system. And not to forget the new introduction of KPC, which is the kinematic posture control. I'm going to come to that too, but first let me explain you the engine and the transmission. So overall the engine is quite powerful. Now, as I said, there is a lot of snow and the conditions are quite slippery, so I'm going to be not using a lot of power, but just showing you a small. Yes, it is quite powerful and responsive, especially if you put it in the sport mode. The engine actually is very responsive, and it's quite firmly attached to the chassis, so when you're going to be accelerating, you really feel like you're handling a very sporty sort of SUV instead of just the daily SUV. Now, in terms of the transmission, there are 8 gears, and I've found that the transmission can be a little bit confusing when it tries to change gears, especially at lower levels, like going from first, second, third to fourth. It's kind of a bit clunky also sometimes, and you can feel that it's a bit undecisive some of the times. That's the only issue I have found, but overall the unit is quite solid. Now this entire hybrid system in terms of its efficiency, so on highways I've managed to get around 9 liters per 100 kilometers, which is pretty impressive for a car this big. Not to forget, this is actually a 3-row SUV, just that the third row is removed and it becomes CX-70. But otherwise, in terms of length and in terms of the space, this is quite a big SUV and a 3.3 liter engine. And within the city, I've managed to get around 10 to 10.5 liters per 100 kilometers. Again, that's also quite efficient, and that's where the electric motor comes in quite handy, because it takes over that job of accelerating the vehicle at lower RPMs. It just feels very firm. It's very Mazda car in all true sense. Now, when it comes to the suspensions, they are on the mild firm side, I would say, because it still offers you a very comfortable ride experience. And also, as I said, there is the KPC, which is the kinematic posture control, something like the GVC, which is the G vectoring control in the other Mazdas like the CX-50. It tries to maintain the car in a very stabilized manner. It works together with the chassis, steering, suspensions, and make sure that you have the grip at all point of time, and also maintains the stability of the car. And that's working very well, because there is not much roll to this SUV. Because I say SUV because SUVs tend to have a bit of roll, and then they make you feel a little on the edge if you take sharper turns. But on this, it always tries to maintain the grip. So in terms of that calibration, Mazda's done a very good job. And also in terms of the steering, very responsive, very direct, and it's got good amount of feedback. Although it's an electronic steering, in the sport mode it might change a little bit of nature, but still very good steering. And from one rotation, extreme rotation, to the other, from left to right, it's got 2.7 turns, which is, it's pretty small. And the steering itself is very confidence inducing. You can read the road surface very well through this steering setup. Now, when we come to the brakes, so there are 4 disc brakes provided on this, and they work pretty well. The brake pedal is quite progressive, and the brakes are also pretty firm in terms of the action. Now, when we come to the noise and the vibrations, now it's a very windy day today, and the car itself is very isolated from all the noise from outside, because these windows are quite thick enough to keep all the noise outside. But there's a bit of tire noise from the wheel wells, and also from underneath the floor I can feel a lot of noise and air gushing underneath the body. So yeah, that side I can still hear a little bit. Now, when we come to the safety systems, so there are 6 airbags, 2 for the front driver and the passenger, 2 side airbags again for the driver and the passengers, and there are 2 curtain airbags given in the frame. Then there are child isofix points in both the rear seats. There is also a brilliant 360-degree camera system. Really like the output from that. It's crisp, and the views are very clear, just that the cameras pick up a lot of dirt, and then you have to keep cleaning them so that you can see those views clearly all the time. Then there is also the lane keep assist, the lane departure warning, adaptive cruise control, blind spot warning, ABS, tire pressure monitoring system, front and the rear collision warning, the front pedestrian warning, and also the reminder if you've left anything in the car. So all of the standard safety systems are provided on this CX-70 II. So in terms of the amount of features, this CX-70 comes fully loaded. Now, all this comes at a price. So in terms of the pricing, the GSL, which is the base variant, starts at $49,700, whereas the GT variant, which is this one, comes in at $54,000 approximately. The GTP comes in at $58,000 approximately, and the Signature comes in at $62,000, and you need to add a couple of grand more to the transportation and all of that. Now, in terms of the pricing, it's still all right, I feel, because there is a lot more that you get apart from just a car, because it's stylish, it's spacious, and if you want the third row, then yes, the CX-90, which also comes exactly in the similar price range. So that's also very near in terms of the pricing, the CX-70 and the 90. So they do come, yeah, quite close in terms of the pricing. And in terms of the overall offering, this car is extremely nice. I really like the layout of this car. It's well made. It's just actually a premium car, and for a not so premium price, honestly. And the looks, yeah, they are the Mazda ones, very clean, very minimalist, and very seamlessly done. So it's stylish also. This paint job, though it's an extra option, but looks very nice. The car is spacious thanks to the removal of the third row. And also, in terms of the overall features, this is also quite loaded. It handles very well, unlike an SUV. It handles very good, confidence inducing drive. And also the Jinba Itsai philosophy that is inculcated into this CX-70, and in fact into all the Mazda cars in that sense. So for the price that you pay, you get a lot of worth of features and facilities on the inside. So this is actually a very good option in the mid-size SUV. And if still not, and if you're looking for a third row, then CX-90 is always an option. Anyways, that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to press the thumbs up button if you've liked this video. I shall see you in the next video. Bye bye, take care, and drive safe.